That's the difference between this. Okay. Once again, good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the weekly theme-based discussion hosted by Everything Literature. We're excited to have you join another wonderful session, which is the episode 2, the second episode for the year. And theme for today, should I say, is curriculum and planning. Strong foundations make confident classrooms. Strong foundation make confident classroom. So this conversation is designed to help educators and learners reflect, reset, and realign in a way whereby it fits to advancement of education system in Nigeria. Just as we know, today's panel brings together Mr. Daniel Aroworade, Ms. Ronke Adebowale, Mr. Fikayo Olatunji, Ms. Gbemisola Olukotun, and myself, Olamide Popoola. And we hope to have a wonderful conversation. Without much ado, Ms. Ronke is a seasoned educator with a passion for learner-centered education and continuous professional development, although she would want to always deny somehow that she doesn't have too much flair for education, but she has been doing well, excelling close to, I think, more than 10 years now, close to 12, 13 years. Mr. Daniel Aroworade is an award-winning educator and examiner, widely respected for his practical approach to teaching and educational excellence. Again, Mr. Aroworade, are you there? Okay, Mr. Aroworade just reconnected. A quick one, Mr. Aroworade, I just read your profile. Hope you don't mind reminding us your philosophy. What's the acronym for your philosophy again?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'm always proud to share. It's summarized or abbreviated into EPIC, 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 and yes, which stands for, where the E stands for empathy. It's my belief that empathy should go before any other characteristic. This is the reason. Humans are different. Students are different. Everyone have their learning pace. Every student has his or her limit, or should I say limitation. Therefore, the teacher or the instructor must come with that mindset of inclusivity, allowing people to learn at different paces, allowing even the least of the learners to get something out of that class or that classroom activity. So, okay, and then there's the second one, which is the P, and that stands for personalized learning. Of course, this I already talked about when I was talking about empathy, but with a little touch of methodology. When you personalize learning, it means that you allow a learner to learn in his own way, and this under this aspect is where we have different forms of learning, or different kinds of learning or learning styles. We have we have the kinesthetic learners, we have the audio learners, we have the visual learners, and when you can identify how a learner learns best, it is good that you bring in all of these methods to ensure that learners have overall, yes, learners have a thorough and overall learning encounter with you. All right, and then there's the third one, which is innovation, and I think this is what's lacking in a lot of teachings today. I believe that the learner should not be seen as a tree to be watered, or just a fruit to be juiced, but I think that the learner should be seen as a fire to be ignited. I don't think that it's just a tank to be filled with knowledge, just pouring, giving so much knowledge. But I believe that if you can train and inspire that learner to do something that no one has ever done before, then we would have a lot of things to be grateful for in our society. We have innovations, we have ideas, we have things that we could leverage to have a better society. All right. So in our teaching curriculums, in our teaching aids, and in our teaching methods, I think innovation should be prioritized. And then the last one, which is C, which stands for character development. One time when I had the opportunity to apply for something, they asked me, one of the questions was that, what do you think is that most valuable um, quality that a student must possess or that must be built in a student? And I did not hesitate for a minute or for a moment before I said character, good character. I must emphasize that the reason that we still have very poor societies despite the level of education. I mean, so much education, yet we have very uneducated system or society, is because we have societies who have built innovators without characters, without character, without values. And I think that our value system should be taken with utmost priority. We should be taking with real seriousness now our basic values of love, of empathy, of accountability, of honesty, loyalty, truthfulness. Those things are very. I think those things should even be rated higher than um, intellectual performances in schools. All right. So this philosophy makes up and always does make up my classroom and guides my classroom activities as I continue as a teacher. Thank you very much for allowing me to share.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aroworade. And the reason why I gave the platform is because personally, I love the fact that you, as a teacher, you've been able to come up with a guiding philosophy to your methodology, to your journey so far as a teacher and onward. And it's quite relevant to what we'll be talking about today, which has to do with strong foundations make confident classroom. So you as a teacher, because these are things that makes out a strong foundation. You being able to outline guiding principles and knowing what you want. Curriculum, should I say, a personality induced curriculum, not necessarily academics alone, although our focus for today will be in terms of the academics. Okay. Without taking too much of our time, we switch to the conversation. I really don't know why presenting this get to cut out some part of the slide, but opening and reflection. What does a strong curriculum foundation mean in today's classroom context, especially in 2026? Yes, who wants to go first? Miss Ronke, do you want to chip in your 2 cents on that?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes,
Hello,
we
can
can
you hear
hear
me?
you.
Oh,
Yes, we loud and clear.
I can't view the question. Can you please read it out to me again?
Oh, can you see my screen, please?
I can see, but it's not legible enough. So kindly help me.
Oh, yeah. What does a strong curriculum foundation mean in today's classroom context? That is
Okay.
the concept of a
What does a
strong
strong
curriculum
curriculum
foundation.
means in today's classroom? Okay. Um, a strong curriculum foundation in today's context, academic classroom context would be that curriculum that caters for the needs of the learners especially, and of course the needs of the teachers or the educators there. The needs would include the cognitive needs, the psychomotor needs, the affective needs, and even the social cultural needs. That means the curriculum should expand beyond the traditional curriculum that was basically, which say, okay, would say most basically was kind of traditional and kind of focuses on the cognitive, the learning, theoretical learning, giving out so much theories, giving out so much instructions, building the cognitive strengths of learners. And also the teachers, it was focused more on the teachers, but now the realities of the 21st century, the realities of today's context would mean that the foundation would need to be strong if the curriculum would expand to cover the current realities. Looking at the affective, looking at the social cultural, even looking at the IT information and the use of internet, social media, all of this would need to be included for the curriculum to be perceived to be very strong and to build a firm and strong foundation in both the learners and the teachers, giving them opportunity to expand, to explore, to exploit, to innovate, to create beyond the traditional curriculum. That's what I think a strong foundation should entail to cover up and meet up the current realities of the 2026 classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ronke. You keep on emphasizing on the word current realities. And I love the fact that you're able to chip in concepts such as innovation, IT, during the course of you sharing your opinion on that. Mr. Aroworade, do you have something to add to what Ms. Ronke has said?
Okay.
In terms of what makes a strong curriculum foundation in today's classroom?
Well, Miss Adebowale has spoken really well, and I think that's just it. Because well, a strong curriculum foundation in today's classroom context, especially in 2026, refers to a well-designed and comprehensive and coherent educational framework that prepares students for, future success. And it's about creating a learning environment that is not only relevant, but engaging and is adaptable. Something that caters to the diverse needs of students. Okay, she has said it all. And this foundation should incorporate core skills like, of course, literacy, numeracy, critical thinking, like I said earlier, problem-solving skills. And I think that's the problem. For instance, we have a lot of things going on in our city. We have issues of insecurity in the nation. A nation should be able to target its educational curriculum towards the problem that affects the society. And so if insecurity is a problem, we are continually seeing every day how the so-called banditry and or bandits and whatever has become small gods, which seem untamable, which seem intractable. So why don't we improve our education, our curriculum, to cater to more needs, to cater to this need of insecurity? So I think that in the 2026 matter, if you want me to be frank, we need to start looking into real life situations, real life materials and resources that can help our students solve problems, think of problems, and create solutions in society. Now, that's what I think. And, that curiosity is essential, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aroworade. Don't mind me, I almost give a round of applause, forgetting the fact that we're having it as a virtual gathering. You get now. Brilliant opinion from you and Ms. Ronke. Personally, just to chip in one or two things, I believe a strong curriculum foundation has to be able to define what to teach, why what we are teaching matters, and how learning should progress, while remaining flexible enough to meet learners' needs. So what to teach, why it matters, and how learning should progress. And the reason why I chip in these three is because sometimes I look at what we are teaching. Just, Miss Ronke mentioned something in relation to current realities. Mr. Aroworade is able to pinpoint, like, sites and instance that meet up with what Ms. Ronke has said, which is the issue of insecurity. So is there an aspect of our curriculum that relates to learners or teachers getting to be educated in terms of insecurities? Because this is part of the present realities we are facing in Nigeria. And how well does the curriculum cater for that? So sometimes I get to wonder that, hope we're not just stuck in the 1980s. Hope we're not just being stuck in the 1970s.
Honestly,
you look at some of the cases, exactly. If we are to take a step out of the secondary school level for a moment and take a look at some of the courses we still taking now, the university and the likes, it seems as if we are still operating things that relate to the 1980s and 1970s. When you want to apply for courses in universities outside of the country and all the likes, you see plethorals, a lot of options of courses, and you feel like, I've never heard of this before, I've never seen this before. Things like design thinking and the like. And you get to wonder, oh, the only things that still matter most here in Nigeria is either, oh, you go to school, you have to study medicine, you have to study law, you have to study maybe accounting, and these have always been the go-to stuff, whereas the world is evolving and it seems not to be having a strong curriculum foundation to cater for the classroom context in 2026. But here we are. We can do our best by talking about it, and I believe the appropriate authorities get to see this, and things can get better. Why is curriculum planning often the missing link between teachers' competence and classroom confidence? Mr. Aroworade, you want to quickly attend to that? Why do you think curriculum planning is often the missing link?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. To be frank, I had to think and think and think, because it looks like we know the problems, but the issue is that we are not bold enough to approach the problem with a solution, or to confront the problem with the appropriate solutions. Well, curriculum planning is often the missing link between teacher competence and classroom confidence, because of the following reasons that I would like you to listen carefully to. The first is that it helps teachers prioritize content and manage time and allocate resources effectively. I'm trying my best not to say some things that we would likely discuss later in the course of this meeting. However, I know one thing, that the missing link between teachers' competence and classroom comes from the curriculum. Basically, because the curriculum sometimes has a lot of things, a lot of content that already neutralizes the time management strength, and there's the capacity for teachers to use resources effectively in classroom. The curriculum already does that. Sometimes when you study the curriculum, you see that it is built to make you continue to bring out contents rather than convert those contents to things that can be used in real life situations. And then another thing is that it enables teachers to tailor instruction to diverse students' needs and abilities. Well, if I must be honest, in a class where you have almost 100 students, Mr. In a class where you have 100 students, tell me how and when a teacher of English language will identify about 65 students who have different learning faults or learning issues, all right, and attend to each of them in a single classroom encounter. As a matter of fact, if you analyze that procedure properly, you might not be able to achieve that even in 5 classes or 6, because there are other things that are on the teacher's neck. The teacher is asked to write a lesson plan, and he has to write it in paper. He's still being forced to write a lesson plan. The teacher is forced to use a certain kind of instructional materials when technology could have taken care of that. When you could have just shown and presented. Some people, some inspectors are coming around to say that it must be done a certain way. Innovation is stifled. The use of technology, we clamor so much for the use of technology, but we are being stifled in the actual implementation of these things. So the curriculum, by the time you question their approach, they tell you that that's what's in the curriculum. Why is it that we like stereotypes? We need to come out of this. That's where the missing link stands from. Strong foundations we're talking about here. Now, another is that it fosters a sense of ownership and agency among teachers, boosting their confidence. So if the curriculum already creates such an atmosphere where the teacher knows exactly what he's coming to do, the teacher has enough time to carry it out, then there's confidence. Confidence is boosted. All right. So I would just like to say that curriculum planning is often that missing link. I will tell you the truth. It is. Once you have a quality curriculum, once you have a workable curriculum, trust me, classroom confidence and the competence of the teacher is brought to light maximally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aroworade. That's quite a very detailed explanation there in terms of how curriculum planning, being done well, gets to enhance teachers' competence and classroom confidence. Because it's as good as an illustration I can give is that of a farmer who is going to the farm. A farmer who has the right tools in place and well sharpened is bound to, have a better harvest compared to someone who is forced to work with maybe blunt cutlass and the likes, and maybe not even having some tools in place. Such a person will not be competent enough, no matter how knowledgeable the person may be in terms of subject mastery, maybe as a result of being a graduate of this or that. But the teacher, the educator would not be able to deliver. And one of the things it would first affect is the confidence entering the classroom and also delivering of the content. Ms. Ronke, I think you have something to chip in.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry my connection went bad while Mr. Aroworade was talking. I hope I won't have to repeat some of the things he mentioned. All right, so I think, like you said, and like he also said from what I heard, the curriculum planning is actually it's something that needs to be updated time after time to include the current needs of both the teachers and the students and the classroom environments. I could recall, like, I think 2023, I was one of those who was privileged to have a meeting with the then Commissioner for Education, that's Mrs. Falasha Deade Fisayo. I hope I'm right with the name. So we were there. I think they selected some teachers from different schools in Lagos State. We met at a place, resource center that's around Bega. It was a good time we had with her, like about 6 hours meeting, where she pushed us to suggest to make a review of the current of the curriculum as at then. So it was a kind of discussion, group discussion that we had, and we had different groups, and in each of the group we were given the opportunity to speak up, to bring up ideas, to look out for the weaknesses of that current curriculum and to suggest way forward. And we took our time. We did a whole lot of suggestions. And at the end of it all, she requested and we brought the brought forth the suggestions, which by the time the curriculum was reviewed, we find out that a good number of our suggestions were included, which was a way forward for us. I think one of the suggestions that I made in particular was the fact that the aspect of the English language test of orals, which test students' oral skill, was not really kind of it was not really included, and so students were having weaknesses, and we were recording low scores in examinations in that aspect. And by the time the reviewed curriculum was brought forth, we found out that many of the suggestions had been included, and so there is a need for continual review of this curriculum. Language education is life. You would agree with me. It is not static. As people are evolving, as situations are evolving, as realities are evolving, so education should be evolving. So a constant review of curriculum would go a long way because teachers' needs, students' need, the classroom needs, the society needs would be included and reviewed. And so it would bridge the gap between teachers' competence and classroom competence too. We need to look at this. And I think if this is done, all of that, all of those which you and Mr. Aroworade mentioned, like teachers being given the priority to innovate, to create, to take charge, to bring forth things that would make the classroom better. If all of these are included in the curriculum with constant review, I think it would be a good way forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ronke. While you were speaking, I could see that you've already gone ahead of us into the second slide.
Oh, I'm so sorry
About,
about that.
no, it's fine because it makes the conversation rather, a bit quite flowing, because you're flowing into the second slide, curriculum design and alignment. No, I would not necessarily have to ask, again, how can educators ensure curriculum goals aligned with learners' real needs and not just examination requirement? From what you've said, I think one of the ways educators can ensure curriculum goals aligned with learners' real need is first, when curriculums are to be revised, educators should be included in the process so that they can communicate learners' real needs. You've cited a very good instance of how you were involved in the process, and by the time some of those things were being revised or revisited, your feedback was included. So
Yes, sir.
that helps to ensure that curriculum goals aligns with learners' real need. But if we are going to take a look at it, one key thing is in the aspect of creativity and flexibility. How do we ensure that curriculum planning balance national standards with creativity and flexibility. Mr. Aroworade, you want to jump on that?
I think I want to pass.
Okay. Or does Miss Ronke have a comment?
I think I'll pass on that too. I'm
Okay.
not too conversant with the national standards.
Okay. Well, it would have been nice for us to have someone from the curriculum department, of which we tried making contact. Just that some of these departments, I think their online visibility needs to still be worked on. So that I don't know. Does Mr. Aroworade or Ms. Ronke, would you say you have a direct go-to stuff concerning getting across to someone in the curriculum department? Do you think we can find them on?
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know any direct contact for now.
Okay.
Well, I
I'm
can think of
not sure.
someone later, and I think I can talk to someone,
Okay. Great.
but
Great.
that'll be late. Yeah.
Great. So let's take a look at lesson planning, because from curriculum we break it down to lesson planning. How does effective Okay, let's just Ms. Ronke cannot see the slides properly, but I believe Mr. Aroworade can see, right? You can say.
I don't have eye
Yes.
defects,
Yes,
okay?
I can.
No. I'm not implying that you have eye defect, but you said it's not bold enough. You get now, so
I
I feel
can
like
see it
it's
now. I can
okay.
see it now.
Okay. So we have 3 questions here. Which one should we go for? Let's start with, how does number one, how does effective lesson planning directly influence a teacher's confidence? I think we've already answered that while we were speaking earlier, because when you plan well, there is a natural psychology to it. It just boosts your confidence.
Yes, it does.
It just boosts one's confidence to it. And is there any other thing we want to chip in?
How does effective lesson planning influence a teacher's confidence during delivery?
Okay. I think I want to say very quickly that a teacher should have a mastery of his subject, and this is why um I do not align with this idea of a fixed lesson plan or universal lesson plan that should be used for a certain classroom. We already have textbooks. We already have handbooks that teachers can consult, which could guide them on how to, create or formulate effective lesson plans. However, a good teacher knows the of his classroom or the class situation. He knows the kind of student he deals with. He knows what obtains from day to day in his classroom situation. He knows the kind of locality where he operates from, and so he's able more to design enough strategies and methods to teach and pass on the message properly. And so I think it is important that the teacher not only have mastery of his subject, because mastery, I tell you, brings and creates a lot of confidence in the teacher. The teacher also has designed enough activities that even before he goes into the classroom, he can already imagine how interesting, how interactive it will be, so much that it creates an atmosphere where there is no equivocation, where there's no ambiguity, where the students learn to the uttermost. And even if they have questions, it can still be discussed or be used as assignment. So it's important that a teacher has two things: mastery of a subject, and that teacher has designed methods, design strategies or activities that can help carry every child along in the classroom. Yeah, so it's important. It's very important.
Yeah, brilliantly said. Because what you just mentioned is exactly what I did going into resumption this time. You get now. I had to sit down. I went through the diary and what's it called? What do they call that book that is always with the vice principals of the school? Yes, is it a syllabus or something? That big book. I think it's what do they call it? I I can't remember the name right now. Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can. Is it?
Yeah.
Are you trying to talk encyclopedia or something,
No, 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 no,
or what?
no. That
The,
contains all the subjects and the breakdown of the
oh,
topics.
scheme of work.
Yeah, the scheme of work. Okay,
Alright.
and I had to go through it, and I had to, take a look at my learners having completed first term. So going into second term, like, okay, how do I plan a lesson that meet up with the needs of these learners and also boost my confidence during delivery? Excuse me, please. A lot of calls always coming in. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay. So as it stands, I had to see to it that I went through what is expected to be taught this term, and I had to break it down in a way whereby the part that is mentioned in the scheme that I feel like, okay, these learners, no matter how, it's how should I teaching of English is quite in a spiral manner, whereby if you have not completed this phase and the scheme is saying that you should teach this part, do you get what I'm saying now? It will be
I do.
it will be difficult for the learners to understand that. So
I
it
do.
is
Absolutely.
it is
Absolutely.
it is because what they ought to have learned maybe at the primary level, and for only God knows why they don't have the sound understanding. It's more or less like trying to
A
teach this.
student who does not a student who does not know what verbs is cannot go ahead to do concord and verb
you
agreements.
you you get it. You get it now. Or let's say finite verb,
Yeah.
transitive, and this learner does not still understand why a verb, what a verb is, or cannot differentiate between how a verb is not just a word that shows an action, but it can also show states, indicates a state of being. That concept alone, they need to have a full grasp of it before going into what the scheme is saying that, oh, teach the learner this. So it's very important to break down the lesson, plan it very well so that it can meet the need
Yeah,
of
let's have the
them.
learners.
Okay. So let's take a look at number 3. Can there be an issue of over planning?
All right, so let me say this. I don't believe in the word over planning anyway. Planning is planning. Over planning, if there's a what anything like that, I think it should be seen in a positive light. All right, so sometimes we make our plans, our lesson plans, we make them very interesting. We make them student centered. We consider every, put in all considerations and hope to have a good lesson with our learners. And then suddenly we get to the classroom, we're about to teach, and some factors come into play that could disturb the lesson. An example for me, I don't know if I'm permitted to say this here, but I think since I'm on it, let me say it. I have this challenge when I'm in a classroom to take my lesson, and this inspectors, for instance, just come and begin to like interrupt the class. Interrupt the class like, Mr. Adebowale, can I see your lesson notes? Can I see your students' notes? And the learners are observing. It's kind of a kind of interruption, and I'm like struggling to ensure that I still go ahead to take my lessons as I have planned already. I don't know if I'm making any sense here.
Mm.
So I don't, it's not a case of over planning though, but it's a case of the lesson not being as productive as I had intended it to be due to
Yeah,
interruptions
I
and some
get you.
challenges.
Or maybe sometimes when higher authorities
Higher
bet on
authorities.
you to quickly come, let us see this, or do this,
Exactly.
and it's just become, I plan for this.
Exactly.
I'm going to
Exactly.
explain for 10 minutes. I'm going to engage these students,
Exactly.
get their feedback and all that. It's become,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes. And then sometimes again, like you pointed out, that if the scheme of work here is not properly planned, because sometimes when I get a scheme of work, I don't just go on to teach the way it is written in the government book. Sometimes I have to take my time to do a kind of rearrangement. Like a
Mm,
student, like you both said, a student who doesn't know what a verb is, how then does he solve problems of Concord?
mm,
So sometimes when I get to the classroom, despite the fact that I have my lesson planned already, I could be successful in the first class I go to with my lesson. Then the second class, I could just have the challenge of the students looking looking lost. And I'm like, what exactly is the issue? Don't you know this? Don't you know that? Don't you know this? And they'll tell me, no, ma, we don't know. We were not taught. So I would
mm,
like to like go back to a kind of foundation, back to teach them what they ought to have learned in their previous classes that they didn't. So that's a kind of challenge on my planned
mm,
lesson,
mm.
because I will have to
Yeah,
do a kind of
absolutely.
retro back to teach them all over again. And at the
Mm.
end of the day, I'll find out that even while I am teaching, I might have to go out of what I have planned to accommodate these, should I call it challenges here, so that I could actually have a delivery of what I have planned. So I wouldn't say over preparation is
So sorry to interrupt, Ms. Ronke, but just to quickly chip it in, the second question under curriculum design and alignment, which were like, in what ways can curriculum planning balance national standard with creativity and flexibility? And it was like, okay, I would pass. You said you would pass then, but your response now just answers it, which is there is a national standard. That is, there's something stated in the scheme of work expected of you to teach. But there is a place of you being flexible in the classroom to understand that they want me to teach this, but
Oh,
I
I would
still
definitely teach everything there, but I might not just
exactly.
go
But
that way it is
you just have
arranged.
a pause on the national standard, what is expected, and just quickly establish the foundations at first. I just had to quickly make a recourse to that. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Ruradi, we're about to make a comment to what Ms. Ron.
Just briefly, I may sound a little rash with this. Well, I want to say first that Miss Adebowale has spoken really well about that. And well, even though we want to look at the word over planning literally, we would possibly say that if you plan and you keep planning and you plan and you plan and plan and plan, well, you must have planned still, which ends up being positive. So positive, so planning at any point will end up being positive. I think that's what you said at the beginning. And well, why we have addressed that literally, I think we can look at it in context also. Over planning. Um, well, I don't think um, a person plans to fail, but I think a person can plan unrealistically. And I think in context, that is what over planning would mean here. That if a person, you know, over planning can be highly counterproductive for teachers. While preparation is essential, and you know, minute by minute planning often creates a strict jacket effect that hinders, you know, flexibility, and it reduces genuine learning opportunities. In fact, it can cause burnout. Let me say that over planning can be counterproductive because one, it can reduce flexibility. If you have planned something, you know, you have decided that this is exactly how it's going to go, so much that you have structured your time and you did not even leave chances for, or you know, you did not consider, um should I say such things that you never planned for. You did not consider those things, and then you just planned, you know, it can affect spontaneous learning. Such a student, such as a student asking question, or you know, sparking a deeper unexpected discussion. You might not be able to address those discussions because you are trying to meet up with time, you know. And then, yes, and then I mentioned that it can lead to burnout and stress. And I'll say this, that excessive time spent on planning can lead to emotional exhaustion, and it takes away um, from time needed for rest and personal life. So you see a lot of people, you know, doing a lot of things, planning, putting this, studying really deeply and deeper, you know, as though you are going for a thesis presentation. And, you know, by the time you now get to the real classroom, it's difficult. Now, you see, the truth of the matter is that a teacher who is able to deliver his lesson and finish at the right time and engage interactions and ensure that all the students are, you know, satisfied, and was able to do it right before the bell goes off. I think we need to give that teacher a round of applause for each lesson. And this is the reason. And this is the reason. When your class is deeply insightful and interesting, your students are bound to ask questions. That class is bound to incite and inspire greater and deeper discussions. And if you have not created a space for that in your planning, trust me, your lesson is going to have limitations. Your lesson is going to have some setbacks. Meanwhile, I will say this, that sometimes if you over plan, sometimes if you have read too much, if you have gone too deeply and you have not curtailed your content, you are likely to go beyond and above during your class. You will begin to do a lot of diversion. You begin to do a lot of deviations, you know, and it's common to lecturers, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, when they are trying to explain this, they go back to 1960, they talk about this. Before you know it, there's little or no time to talk about the real thing itself. So I think that's what over planning is talking about here, that when we plan, let our lesson plan have in it the content that reflects what exactly the scope of what we want to give to the students, so that that can control us. And I must say that discipline is seriously needed if one will not overplan. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
may I add that one good way a teacher can actually excel is by creating room for flexibility. Flexibility for the uniqueness of the class you are taking. Like you could be in a class and deliver your lesson, and then when you leave room for flexibility to some extent, you'll be able to curtail whatever question that come, like unexpected question or unexpected contribution for students. I, for one, if you go through my learners' notes, hardly would you find the same note in two different classes, because I have a way of allowing my learners make active contribution by participating actively. So I just like give them, okay, this is the basic. What do you think? What do you think? So in their notes, you find a lot of their thoughts, a lot of their contribution. And that's the place of flexibility, not being too rigid by saying, okay, I have it planned out. These are what I have written. All of this must be in every learner's note, just the way I have planned it. So I think teachers should give room for flexibility. Thank you, boss.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Aroworade. Thank you, Ms. Ronke. I didn't want to interrupt at all because I was really enjoying your thoughts on this conversation. And I believe one of these days, one aspect that we will delve into, take a look into what the two of you have been talking around, which is teachers coming to have growth mindset and not fixed mindset. Yeah, that was just the summary of what I think you were talking about. Like a teacher who has a fixed mindset, such a teacher would want to go to the class. This is what I've planned. I've read this. I want to show you that I know this, and write it. Let it be so. When they want to cite examples, the teacher said, no, let it be my example. And what you have said, Miss Ronke, would not be able to come to place if the teacher has a fixed mindset. But a teacher who has a growth mindset would also want to see the growth of the learners in terms of, I have defined what a lexical verb is. They show action. And so can you give example of this? So you involve the learner in the process and you say, okay, give me an example, and you facilitate by confirming if what they've said is correct or not. Once it is correct, okay, can you write that in your note? That makes them have a sense of inclusivity. You get now inclusiveness in terms of, I'm involved in this. It is not just what my teacher has to offer me. It is what I can contribute along with the lesson planning. Okay, we've really stayed on this lesson plan and teachers' confidence. I would like us to take one on that learner's outcome and classroom practice. What signs show that a classroom is operating on a strong instructional foundation? What signs show that a classroom is operating on a strong instructional foundation? I think Ms. Ronke mentioned some certain things. Mr. Aroworade to mention some certain things. What Mr. Aroworade mentioned earlier happens to be that involvement, the engagement, the feedback you get now. That's one of the signs that a classroom shows when it is operating on a strong instructional foundation, when the teacher has a sound mastery, when a teacher is delivering outrightly well, then there should be a feedback. There should be a conversation that not necessarily all the time, but please, once in a while. You're most welcome, Mr. Olatunji. I can tell you.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Sorry for coming late. I was held up in a few
Yeah, it's
things.
fine.
So
It's fine, sir.
I'm trying to follow.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have any contribution to that anymore. Because of our time, let's delve into innovation and modern. Or Mr. Aroworade, do you have something to chip in on that?
Okay, I was just going to say that good classroom management can be a sign. If you look, if you pause and you discover that your classroom is quite haphazard, you may not have a strong foundation for that class encounter. That if it is well structured, if it is well planned, even if you have left it for flexibility, you still, within the time that you have, you still be able to manage the class, because there's no loophole there's no moment of limbo where the students have a chance to misbehave or do something that is not relevant to what you're doing in the classroom at that time. They are engaged, continuously engaged. And so management comes easy. So when you discover that everyone is involved, everyone is, participating, and there's no disruption at any point, your classroom is properly managed, that could be a good sign that you have a strong foundation for that class.
Yeah, big time. I really agree with you on this, Mr. Aroworade. This reminds me about a particular a French teacher in the school that I once worked. Um, this man had proper classroom management. You will pass by class sometimes and you will just be hearing vous, le français, le pressé, and you will think, is this man losing it? Like he does not have control over his class. The next minute, everywhere is quiet. I mean, silent. You could literally hear the drop of a pin. So I paid attention. So there is a way whereby this man gives room for 2 to 3 minutes for students to just be expressive. Oh yes, sir. I think it's this. I think it's that. Then I don't know what he usually say, but everybody just be quiet. Like it's like magic. It works like magic for him. So there must be that balance to it, whereby as much as there should be that engagement, but you should not lose it in terms of the class becoming rowdy. Everybody becomes a barbarian. They want to all talk at once and all that. Yeah, I just had to um
Yeah.
give
Please, can I say some? Can I say something?
Can I? Okay.
Yeah, one of the signs I really have in mind after the uh, point that was made by, sorry, I can't remember the name. Uh, uh, you
we're
mentioned classroom
I'm
management.
struggling to hear you clearly, Mr. Olatunji.
Yeah, can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, yes,
Can you hear me now?
yes,
All right.
yes.
I said, aside what Mr. the other man said, I'm very
uh,
sorry I can't really
Mr.
get the
Aroworade,
name. Mr.
Mr.
Aroworade, yes, thank you very much. Aside that, I would suggest, I would say, from my own perspective, that as a teacher, we really need to have a clear learning objectives. I don't know if someone mentioned that earlier, but for you to have a good classroom management, when you have set your objectives very, very well, I'm very sure as you are planning ahead, as you are teaching, as you are having the attention of your students, following the class, the learning objectives, I guess that will really give a very strong instructional foundation. So a clear objectives should be laid down before you even enter the class, and the students should also be aware of the objective that okay, at the end of this class, these are the things that we need to have achieved, and so on. I guess uh, I'll rest for now.
Hmm. Yeah,
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 may I add one more sign, please?
yes, definitely.
Now, this one sign I'm about to add might actually sound funny because it's a non-verbal sign. For you to know that you've had a good class, look at the faces of your students or your learners. From their countenance, you can tell.
You are very
While
right.
some might be bold enough to raise their hands up and ask intelligent questions, participate actively, others might not, but there'll be this satisfaction, there'll be this smile, there'll be this sign of appreciation on their faces. Sometimes they could go ahead to even say, "Thank you, ma. Thank you, sir." So it's one sign we should look out for. It's a non-verbal sign, but it is big if we pay
Mm,
attention to it.
mm,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ronke. Thank you so much, Mr. Olatunji. Mr. Olatunji mentioned earlier the importance of lesson objective. I think that would help to save from uh, talking too much in one aspect or deviating out of the purpose of what one intends to achieve in a class. And also,
Yes.
Ms. Ronke mentioning non-verbal cues in terms of, sometimes the feedback may not come in terms of the learners rather opening their mouth to talk. They may just give some maybe head nods here and there, thumbs up, and presently the Gen Z, they like to clock it. Yeah. So you
Sometimes we could give you a round of applause. Sometimes.
round of applause. Uh, Although I've never really been too familiar with the is he attacker or atama or is he defender or there's something that I just
That's a plot.
okay. So we have innovation and modern classroom needs. We have leadership, collaboration, and growth. What role does collaboration among teachers play in building confident classrooms? Do you think teachers need to collaborate more? And if they have to what extent does it help in building confident classroom? Do you really think people like to collaborate?
That's
Yeah,
that's a funny question because I realized that in truth be told, a good number of teachers do not like to collaborate. Why some of us, I for one, like the idea of collaboration because I believe no man is an island of knowledge. And then I also love the fact that I like to say the variety is the spice of life.
Hmm.
I like collaboration. It's an effective teaching strategy if one can actually use it. However, the bulk of work, the volume of work, the timetable, the way it is prepared might not make it so easy for teachers to collaborate. Like while I have like 24 periods or 28 periods to take, I'm kind of tired. I might be available despite the fact that I'm being tired, but some might not just be available because of the workload. And then some people shy away from it because maybe they feel it will expose their weakness, but that shouldn't be it. I think if we have the positive mindset, the growth mindset, collaboration should be something we should embrace with all of our hearts because it would really rub off positively on our learners if we can do it. I might be good in one aspect, I might have a colleague that's better in another aspect, and when I want to teach that aspect, I mean, it would be a good thing to invite that colleague to come take that particular aspect, all for the good of my learners. So if teachers can actually be more open to collaboration, it would go a long way. Not only would your learners even learn when you invite the teacher to take an aspect, even you yourself, you stand a good chance of grasping the knowledge as your colleague is dishing it out to the learners you're also learning. I
Hmm.
don't know, but I think it's a good thing. I have there's a junior staff of mine. In fact, it was funny. I was in class on a certain day and I saw her by the window and I asked, "Is there a problem?" She said, "No, I just came to observe your class and to learn." And I told her, "Oh, really? Okay, come in, sit down. You don't stand by the window." All right. So we do that. And after the lesson, I was like, "Okay, do you have a challenge in this aspect?" And she said, "Okay, yes." And I was able to put her through and told her whenever she would go to class, she should invite me. I would be willing to take that aspect for her. So I think it's a good thing. Collaboration should be encouraged. It's really a good deal for
Hmm.
all
Oh,
educators and for the good of the learners too.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, definitely agree with you on that, Miss Ronke. Big um, example as well that you've cited, which I must really salute the courage and the honesty of your colleague who has been able to open up that, oh, I think I need assistance in this aspect because some people feel like, I don't want her to feel like she knows more than me. I don't want him to feel like, oh, he was the one who taught me this and all that. And I think collaboration really get to build confidence, you know. In fact, I for one, do this with my students. I love to collaborate with my students and not just maybe those that are the high flyers. I mean, every one of them. I let them know that no matter how stupid you may think your opinion is, there is still one way you can present it right in humility, and we can get to learn something from it. Not to mention a fellow colleague who is a T. Uh,
but
in
can I say something?
Yes, yes, Mr. Latunji.
Okay, my opinion on that is that as a teacher, we should sorry, we should
Bless
make it a point of responsibility to collaborate.
you.
If as a teacher you cannot collaborate with your colleagues, that means you don't want to develop at all. Because there is no how in this life you are going to know everything. You cannot know all. We need one another. Yoruba will say, "Ká fọwọ́ wẹwọ́ báyìí lọ́wọ́ fi máa mọ́." So we need one another to make
You may want
everything work
you
out.
may want to translate that for the
Okay,
sake of
when we wash when you want to wash your hands, you have to make you have to use the both hands to wash each other so that you have a very clean hand at the end of the day. That's just the interpretation of
obviously
what I said.
you must be a Yoruba man that likes taking swallow.
Actually, I love you. I'm a very traditional man. So, so as a teacher, you must collaborate because if you don't collaborate, you are going to lag a lot. You will lag behind. And if you say you want to stand alone, then you'll be there. There will not be a point of development for you. But when you collaborate with your colleagues, then you work as a team. You cannot just achieve everything within yourself alone. You have to consult people. So that's my point. It is the must for a teacher, a qualified teacher, a professional teacher, to collaborate with others. And don't say you are too big. Nobody is too big in this life. You have
Mm.
to collaborate with your people.
I
My
think even
point.
collaboration helps to develop some other aspect of one's soft skills, such as humility, teamwork. You get
Oh,
now.
no.
Okay. And interactive session before we wrap, call it a wrap for this evening because of our time. Um, what practical advice would you give teachers struggling with confidence due to poor planning? Yeah, Miss Ronke, let's have you first. What practical advice would you give? Let's say your junior colleague who works with you struggling with confidence. What what practical advice? We're coming to you,
What
Ola.
practical advice would I give to a teacher who lacks confidence due to poor planning?
Yes.
Well, it's obvious. Plan properly.
Mm,
Get all the materials you need. Get help from colleagues. Browse the internet. Surf the net. Plan properly. When you have a good lesson plan, it will boost your confidence, like we all agree. So where
mm,
there is proper planning, that teacher is likely going to do better. And the truth is that poor planning would truly, truly deprive one of his or her confidence unless you are a very smart person. If you're very smart, even when your planning is poor, you can actually find a way around it. But if you're not very smart, smartness shouldn't even come in place of proper planning. Proper planning should be done. Proper
We,
planning cannot be overemphasized. Once it is in place, then your confidence will boost and cheer up, and you'll be able to do better. So, for that teacher who is struggling with confidence, take your time, plan properly, plan with your lesson objectives stated and your lesson content, doing justice to those objectives you have stated,
mm,
and you'll be
mm,
fine.
what you just said now, you would hear me smiling while you were speaking. Mr. Femi,
Yes,
FFO,
sir.
you are
Sir,
there. Yeah, I
I'm with you,
believe
sir.
you've had scenarios whereby some students would want to play a fast one on a teacher. Uh,
Sure,
let's say you have some very smart minds, brilliant minds among the learners. They may ask
sure.
a question whereby, as a teacher, maybe you cannot just remember. It's not that maybe you don't know, but you cannot just remember. It was not included in what you plan to teach in class, and they ask a question.
Oh, I had
Considering
a
what
situation like that.
considering what Ms. Ronke said in terms of smartness, what's the practical advice to to quickly
Well,
so that
I've had
the
situations
learners
like that, and I would humbly, with all humility, let the students know that look up on this and I'll get back to you. And I would
Exactly.
definitely
That's
do that.
just it.
that's a very practical advice. I love that.
That's just it.
Uh,
That's just it.
mm, mm.
It's
Oh,
better. It's better
do
you
you
say that than continue blabbing in class and you end up embarrassing yourself. So
Oh,
it's better.
yes.
mm.
Exactly.
Do you think it's a good one for the teacher to turn it around and say, well, what do you think? What do you think the answer should be? Do you-
Yeah, it depends actually.
It depends, actually. Yeah,
It
it
depends.
depends.
It depends. It depends. You know,
Hmm,
I've found myself in such scenario before, and try to throw it. I try to throw it back at the students, and I've been in the two scenarios before. One was I will get back to you. I immediately I left the class to do what I had to do, and then I called them. I mean, sorry, the next class I had to give them full details, and all of them understood what I wanted to say. So, and the other one, I threw back to them. What do you think? Okay, before I will answer it, what do you guys think about what they have said? So all
practical.
of them, you understand? He
Yeah.
himself uh, said some things about it. So all I did was to emphasize on what he said, and
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
Uh, because we learn too as a teacher. We learn from them. So we
Big,
cannot be Mr. Know-all.
big time. Big
Yeah.
time. Mm. Thank you so much. Is Mr. Aroworade Day still on the call?
Yeah, very much. Even
Oh,
though I would have
you,
right now. So I just want to
you
say that okay. So I just want to say that I think the question is not even asking um is not even trying to tell the teacher what to do based on what the question says. Because obviously from the question, if you are not planning and it's not and that's why you don't have confidence, then go and start planning. That's what the question that's the answer.
Exactly.
But I
mm,
think
That's
there's more to that. And that's where I want to come in again on the issue of collaboration. You see, if you
mhm.
don't know what to do, one which means a person who
Exactly.
has the attitude of asking for directions will never miss his way.
You
That's
never.
the situation there. So,
Yeah.
and I also know something about collaboration. You see, teaching students, in fact, teaching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not let alone 50 students, it's a community battle. And trust me, no one wins a community battle alone. No one.
Sure.
In fact, I think that it's a kind of hypocrisy to try to instill collaboration in students, in classroom situations, and even you are not collaborating with other teachers to get the best. Before we resumed, I had contacted one or two teachers to ask them, okay, what are the materials you have for this particular literature text? To Kill a Mockingbird and what's it called, Redemption Road. If you have things, I already had texts and materials, but I wanted to know more. As far as asked for methods, have you thought about methods that could be applied to this and that? And as a matter of fact, I also have plans to invite teachers. Thank God for the Lagos State government, especially Education District 1, who has brought up this initiative of intervention programs, intervention classes, where teachers from other school exchange classrooms. That's teachers of literature, as precisely here. So I think it's important. See, the reason you want to try to spark a fire in that child, you're not trying to fill his head with knowledge. And trust me, no fire comes out of the matches unless there are two entities involved, the matchstick and the matchbox. When two of them strike, then there's a fire. And I think that's where collaboration comes in. In fact, there's a lot of survey, I don't want to start quoting now, to show that when teachers collaborate, Science Direct has it, that you are likely to have 100% response, positive response. from the students. So let that teacher ask questions, meet people, go online, go to YouTube. You find a lot of contents there that help you, to plan yourself properly. And I think that with that you fly. Thank you very much for having me.
Really appreciate Mr. Aroworade. Big shout out to Ms. Ronke and also Mr. Olati FFO. I really want to believe that we've had a great session today. We've been able to speak deeply, concerning the topic before us, curriculum and planning, how strong foundations help to make a great classroom. Okay, next week is another time. We're going to be having the weekly TBD. In fact, we ended on the note of what the importance of collaboration means. And what we are having here is a practical scenario of collaboration. All by myself, I cannot run the TBD. The other time, Miss Ronke was available, but I said, no, we have to wait for others. Let us rejoin. I don't mind if we have to wait till tomorrow or reschedule, in all honesty, because I love collaboration. I am a big fan of getting to learn from this person, hear out my own opinion, get to see another person say, as much as this is good, but why not let us do it this way? And it helps a lot. Once again, I really cannot thank you enough, my good friends, my fellow educators, and my innovative, creative, award-winning scholars. This brings us to the end of this week's weekly theme-based discussion. You can connect with us via platforms, info@everythingliterature.net. If you have any message or mail to send, you can get to join our community via the app.everythingliterature.net, and you can just visit everythingliterature.net, which is our website for update. Thank you so much, Ms. Ronke.
You're welcome, sir.
In.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Aroworade. Always on point. Mr. Olatunji, nice having you on board. I believe today's session happens to be Mr. Olatunji's and Ms. Ronke's first time on board. And you can see it's just seamless. Nothing.
I appreciate that.
So, hope to see you. Hope to have you on board next week. By God's grace.
That's great.
Till then, enjoy. Big shout out. Yeah, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye.
Bye.